Welcome to the IACL blog's V-Conversations. I'm Tom Daly and I'm here with Professor Wojciech Sadurski on Tuesday, the 9th of June. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Tom, and welcome to everybody.
So a very quick introduction. Professor Sadurski is the Chalice Professor of Jurisprudence at the University of Sydney. He's a professor at the University of Warsaw. He sits on the executive committee of the IACL itself, and he is the author of the landmark 2019 book, Poland's Constitutional Breakdown, published by Oxford University Press. Now, due to his work on Poland, Professor Sadurski is currently subject to multiple lawsuits initiated by the Polish state, and hearings for two separate lawsuits will shortly take place on the 15th of June and the 19th of June. And in fact, a new paper by Leora Lazarus has described you as an example of the constitutional scholar as constitutional actor. So I'm interested to know, can you tell us about the current state of the various indictments and suits against you in Poland?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Tom, and thank you for your kind introduction. I'm currently facing four separate legal suits against me in Poland. Two are by Polish State TV, which is fully state-funded and managed, so it's an entity of Polish government. Both are defamation cases, except that one is civil, another criminal. The third one is a civil defamation case by the Polish ruling party, Law and Justice. So again, for all practical purposes, it is Polish state, as the party is merged more or less with the state in the current anti-constitutional stage of development in Poland. And the fourth one is a private defamation suit by a very prominent figure, member of current legal establishment. But since this matter is still at an early stage of so-called compulsory mediation, I was advised by my lawyer not to comment about it publicly. So I would prefer to talk only about the first three cases. Again, they are by Polish State TV and by Law and Justice. One is criminal defamation, two are civil defamation cases. And as you have just said, for two of these cases, a civil defamation case by Law and Justice Party and criminal defamation case by Polish State TV, the hearings will be on respectively 15th and 19th June. When it comes to the third case, and that is civil defamation case by Polish TV, it is still pending, but there is no specific time set up.
So this is an extraordinary situation you're facing. I'm interested to know, legally or constitutionally speaking, can you say that the authorities have any case against you? And do you have any constitutional protections, including the provisions on freedom of expression, to provide any protection against these lawsuits?
Well, obviously, I believe that I am fully protected, both constitutionally and conventionally, in the sense of the European Convention of Human Rights. All the incidents or all my statements which were the basis for all these defamation cases concerned public issues, political issues. There were no individual, personal, private insults, derogatory statements, etc. They were all harsh criticism, respectively of the ruling party and of the state TV, concerning the most central issues of political concern in Poland. And in that sense, I believe that I am fully and secondly, they were all matter of opinion rather than statements of facts to which the standards of truth or falsity can be attributed. They were pure political opinion, and as such, they were all in the very center of public discourse protected by Polish Constitution, Article 54, and by Article 10 of the European Convention. In this way, both Polish Constitutional Tribunal in its old good days have fully adopted the case law of the European Court in Strasbourg, which basically corresponds, one may say, to the First Amendment case law of the US Supreme Court, which places political opinion at the very top of the protected speech.
Thank you. So, given what is facing the Polish state in terms of, taking these cases when there are clear constitutional protections for the type of speech you've engaged in, why has the state and its connected entities, in your view, why have they decided to focus on you rather than anyone else?
Well, that's a very good question, which I'm asking myself often. Of course, I'm not the only person who is being prosecuted by Polish government for their statements. There were many journalists, many public figures, including the ombudsman, many judges, that is, people who are in Poland and therefore who risk much more than I do. In that sense, they are in much worse situation than I am. On the other hand, I think that from all I know, I'm the only person who has this distinct privilege, quote unquote, to be facing 3 or even 4 cases, all based on defamation, all based on political statements, more or less at the same time. Why me? Difficult for me to say. I think that there may be 2 factors. One is that I do not limit myself to academic writings of the sort, like in the book, which you very kindly mentioned in the opening, but I'm also using different other fora, including op-eds in popular newspapers in Poland and social media, in particular Twitter. And obviously the government doesn't like it when critical academics also use this much more, if you like, popular means of criticism. Second is that perhaps they are concerned that as an academic who spends most of his time outside Poland, being employed here in Sydney, having all sorts of international networks of scholarship, including IACL, I may give some international prominence to criticism of the authoritarian populism in Poland. So in a word, I think they are using me as some sort of their favorite enemy in order to deter other critics in Poland and to create this chilling effect.
So in a sense, they're making an example of you and they're really going for it with these multiple lawsuits. If one fails, another is an option.
I think that's exactly the case. And I must add that there is something truly perverse about Polish state TV, which on the basis of one and the same Twitter statement of mine, decided to launch both civil case and very soon after criminal case against me, just in case, just as you have said it, to sort of over prosecute me, so that if one suit or one legal process fails from their point of view, they always can try another one.
So moving on from, the individual situation here, would you characterize this, and you've discussed this in your book from 2019 and in your various writings, but would you characterize this as a systemic violation of the freedom of speech in Poland, of which you're just one example?
Oh yes, absolutely. I would never say that I'm some sort of aberration or an episode in an otherwise perfectly proper protection of freedom of speech. And the very fact that there is a criminal article in Polish Penal Code which provides for criminal penalties for speech in For defamation in public media, you can end up with 1 year in jail. This is total aberration. We had thought, we meaning Polish lawyers, that this article went into some sort of desuetude, as constitutional lawyers call it, that it sort of died out, but it didn't, and occasionally they are throwing this article at journalists, at public speakers, and in my case, at me, and all international organizations dealing with human rights and protection of freedom of speech, such as, for example, Article 19 organization, always say there is no such thing as criminal defamation in our constitutional democracy. If you feel that you are defamed, okay, use civil defamation case against your accuser. Don't use criminal sanctions of the state against speech. So yes, we have a very drastic, systemic problem in Polish law. And even if this article is underused, which it's not, but even if it were underused, the very fact that it's there creates powerful, chilling effect. But let me just add at the end also that it's not just the matter of criminal prohibition. There is a very systemic way of breaching fundamental freedom and pluralism of speech by the way in which public media have been captured by the ruling party in Poland, in the way in which all journalists and reporters who had been considered independent have been purged and have lost their job, and currently public media, which for all sorts of largely technological and financial reasons enjoy quite large prominence among Polish viewing and listening public, are turned into very, very crude propaganda machine, and no opposition voices are allowed in these media. So there are all sorts of ways in which freedom of speech the principles of freedom of speech are violated in Poland these days.
Thank you, Professor, for placing your current trials in context and really showing to us that the stakes are extremely high, not only personally, but also for Polish democracy at large. I'm going to have to wrap up there, but I do want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. As you know, we're both IACL members, and the IACL places a lot of emphasis on academic freedom. And I hope you know that so many people are inside the IACL and around the world stand with you as you face this legal harassment by the Polish state.
Thank you. If you allow me, I would like to take this opportunity to say how I greatly appreciate the support given to me by IACL, by President of IACL, Professor Adrian Stone, by you, by all my colleagues, and by the whole IACL community. I am very grateful, and thank you so much.
Thank you again, Professor, and goodbye.